What is your favorite long-term strategy that you've stuck with? Oh, okay. So for sure, it is going to be rebalancing. So what rebalancing is, if you're not familiar, it's super simple. It's like outrageously simple. So I set a minimum and a maximum exposure to crypto that I am willing to tolerate. These are my numbers. Use whatever numbers make sense for you. So I'll explain what this means. So this is my minimum. This is my max. So every month I do some rebalancing. And how that looks like is every month I would go and buy a small portion of BTC, of Bitcoin, basically DCAing, right? Dollar cost averaging. I would buy a small chunk of Bitcoin every month. If my net worth, if my exposure to crypto relative to my net worth drops below 10%, I'm going to be buying more aggressively than usual, right? So I'm going because if my exposure is less than 10%, like of my net worth is in crypto, I'm going to be constantly feeling like I'm missing out, right? Because I'm bullish on crypto for the next 10 years, right? 5, 10 years, I'm still super bullish on crypto. I'm bullish on crypto until the so what is the idea which invalidates my thesis? Well, if the encryption of BTC can be cracked, then therefore Bitcoin is no longer viable. That's like the main thesis. So I think that yeah, I mean I believe for the next 10 years, I guess that makes sense. So cool. I'm just gonna remain bullish on Bitcoin. So if I want to be super duper ultra bullish on Bitcoin, oh, and the other thesis is if governments stop printing money, which I don't think will happen anytime soon. I think they're going to keep printing money, and the value of fiat currency is going to, or the purchasing power of 1 unit of fiat is going to go down over time. So those are like the two main things which drive the thesis of why I'm bullish Bitcoin. So okay, we've got the invalidation out of the way. So since it's such a huge time horizon, I shouldn't really stress too much about getting the perfect entry. I just need to have some kind of entry. It doesn't matter if I bought at some random location. If the price is going to be higher in 10 years, then cool, I don't care. So my average entry price is basically like I really don't care about the entry. So yeah, in simple terms, if my exposure to BTC is less than 10% of my net worth, I'm going to be aggressively buying in that new month, and if it's 30% or over, I'm going to be aggressively selling that month because I want to cap it to a 30% max, right? And then we've got 20 in the middle here. 20 is the mid zone. So if we're in the 20%-ish threshold, so I'll say 15 is like the lower, and then I'll say 25 is like the upper. When my exposure is somewhere in this like middle zone, I don't really have to do anything. I just do nothing. I simply just do literally nothing. I do nothing. I just keep DCAing like I normally would. But yeah, if we get to the 30% max, I start aggressively selling. Now, the reason why is because I don't feel comfortable to have more than 30% of my net worth in crypto. If I have like 33, well, I have 3% more than necessary. It's like I don't care if it goes up by a bunch and I get to make more profit on that 3% extra exposure. It's not about that. It's rather I'm trying to protect myself in the event that one of these we get one of these to randomly spontaneously appear, and they can happen, right? How many times have we seen like a 50% drawdown in crypto? We've seen it so many times to the point where it's not even funny, right? So I want to be protected because I know that if we have like an 80% drop, in crypto, and I have 30% of my net worth, at least I'm only going to take that 80% hit on 30% of my net worth, not literally all my net worth, which I have done before in 2018. It was not fun. So yeah, I don't want to repeat the same mistake. But yeah, it's basically just really, really simple rebalancing. Now, the reason why this is effective is because if my idea is directionally correct, so if in the event that BTC is in fact higher in 10 years than it is today, at least I'll be able to profit off that because I had some exposure along the way. Like as time went on, I'm exposed to it. Yes, price was higher 10 years from now. So therefore, I was able to win from it. And it's not like these gains are 100% unrealized. I'm going to be realizing I'm going to be taking profit on the way, right? It's not like I'm going to be turbo diamond hands all the way through. Like I get it. In crypto, that's the mentality that is encouraged. I'm not like that. I don't care to have all of my exposure in crypto. I don't care about diamond handsing, if that's a word. I'm just happy to rebalance small chunks here and there, and I'm happy with this having like an average of 20% of my exposure to BTC over the next 10 years, right? I'm happy with that. And genuinely, I think that the reason why people have like 90% or more of their exposure to crypto is because deep down they feel like that this, at least this is like the conversation that I had to have with myself. I'm gonna explain it. So basically, I used to have more than 90% of my exposure in crypto in 2018, and I got burned really heavily. And I remember even after being burnt, I still wanted to have more than 90% of my exposure to crypto, even after the fact that I got burnt. And I had to like really have a think about why this is. Like, why am I so why is it so hard to just move from 90% exposure to 30% even after the fact that I just got burnt? And the answer to that question, it was quite a harsh one. It was, I don't think I'm skilled enough to make it. And I think that the only way that I'll ever make it is if I'm literally all in crypto and it does like a 10 or 20x over the next several years. That's the only way that I'll make it. Like if that doesn't happen, I'm not going to make it. Therefore, I literally have no choice but to go all in. It's basically admitting to a skill deficiency, right? It's, if you want to compensate for a skill deficiency, you have to go gamble, literally. So I had to have the honest conversation with myself and admit to the fact that I was compensating for my skill deficiency by trying to gamble. And by having that honest conversation, I switched from the 90% exposure to the lower exposures, so only having maximum 30% of my net worth exposed to crypto. And then I had to say, okay, I know that me simply bag holding isn't going to be enough to quote unquote make it. Therefore, I need to get good at something. I need to get really good at something. I need to get so good at something such that even if BTC goes to zero and crypto dies, that I will still make it, right? So I had to do, like, this is like one simple way of, I could have just answered this question with like, oh yeah, I just rebalance and like, this is how to do it. But like, even if I share this, there's still going to be a whole bunch of people who say, no, this strategy sucks because like, what if BTC does a 10x in the next 10 years and I'm only 20% exposed? It's like, bro, if BTC does a 10x over the next 10 years and you have a 20% exposure, that's insane. That is insane. That's insanely good. It's insanely good. You don't have to do a 10x on your entire net worth from one giant speculative gamble. You can make it just by getting good at something, which is a much more reliable approach to making it than just coin tossing on a market and praying that number go up, right? So bet on yourself. Don't bet on the Ponzi. Or should I say, bet more on yourself and bet less on the Ponzi. Okay, that's a much better way to end this question.